Hello. My name is Sarah. I'm learning English. I'm a student. I study English books. This is my story. I want to tell you about my life in London. I want to tell you about my wonderful teacher. Chapter 1. My trip to London. It is a nice place, summer day. The sun is shining. I'm on a train. I am going somewhere. 2 women are on the train with me. They are sitting in front of me. They are talking. They are talking in English. I do not understand much. I am learning English, but I am just starting. I don't know many words. I am a beginner. I wanted to talk them. I was nervous, but I took a deep breath. I started to speak to the woman. I said some easy words in English. Hello, I learn English. The woman looked at me. They smiled. They understood what I wanted to say. I was very happy. I said, I want to learn English. The woman smiled again. One of them said, Oh, that's great. We are from England. The other woman said, Yes, we are going home. We were at meeting for work. I asked, Meeting for work? The first woman said, Yes, a conference. It was about, well, it doesn't matter. The important thing is we are going home. We talked for about 10 minutes. It was a short talk, but it was good for me. I practiced my English. The next stop was my stop. It was my station. I had to get off the train. I said, Goodbye. The women were very nice. They gave me their address and their phone number. They said, You can visit us in England. We would love to see you. I said, Thank you. That is very nice. Then we said goodbye again. I got off the train. After this meeting, I worked hard on my English. I studied every day. I read simple books. I translated texts. I watched movies in English. I wanted to improve. In 6 months, my English was better. It was good now, but I wanted to learn more. I wanted to be very good at English. I decided to go to London. I wanted to study English in London. I thought it will be a great adventure. When I was in London, I found a school. I joined the school. My first class was on Monday. I was excited and nervous. I met my teacher and the other students in the class. My teacher was a young and kind woman. Her name was Ms. Davis. She was very nice and friendly. We all said our names. We told Ms. Davis about ourselves. Then we started the lesson. Ms. Davis had a question for us. She said, What do you know about the English language? What do you think is important? We thought about the question. It was a good question. Miss Davis said that she could teach us in a special way. She said it was a very good way to learn English. This way was easy. Miss Davis said, We will not study from books all the time. We won't read textbooks all day. But we will use English a lot. We will use it every day. This was good for me. I didn't like studying from textbooks. They made me confused. They were not interesting. Then we talked about what is important when you learn a new language. Miss Davis said, language is for talking. It is for communication. We need language to talk to each other. She said, languages help us to express our ideas and our thoughts. So when you learn a new language, the best way is to use the language. Use it to say how you feel. Use it to talk to other people. Miss Davis said, that is what we will do. We will speak a lot. We will use English a lot. She said, many students try to learn new words. They also study grammar rules. But these students don't use English to speak. They study the language, but they don't use the language. She said, there is a difference. Of course, you need to learn new words and grammar, but you don't have to study them all the time. You need to practice them every day. Ms. Davis said, in this class, I want to show you a simple and good way to learn new words and grammar. I like what Ms. Davis said. Davis said, her way of teaching sounded good. Our lesson continued. We talked about our hobbies. We talked about what we like to do in our free time. We spoke in pairs. We spoke with Ms. Davis. I liked the class. I am very happy. This way of learning is good for me. It is helping me to learn. Chapter 2. Learning New Words. I went to school again on Tuesday. I was happy to go back. One of the students asked a question. It was an interesting question for me too. The student asked, what is the best way to learn new words? Miss Davis said, there are many things you can do to learn words, but I will tell you the best way. The way that helps the most. She said, it is reading. When people read, they learn new words. They learn them faster than people who don't read. Davis said, it is good to read for at least 30 minutes every day. She also said, if you want to learn the most new words from reading, you should do these things. First, it is important that you like the book or the text. It is important that you enjoy reading it. The book can be a nice story, or it can be about real things. It can be anything that you like. But don't read something that is not interesting for you. If you don't like it, you will not want to read. You will not learn. Also, choose a book that is good for your level of English. If you don't know many words, you can get frustrated. You don't want to feel that way. You want to enjoy reading. When you read and you see a word you don't know, you should use a dictionary. Find the word in the dictionary. Look at its meaning. This will help you understand the text better. It will also help you learn the new word. You don't have to write the word down. The word will stay in your brain. You will remember it. Every time you see a new word, do the same thing. Look it up in the dictionary. Ms. Davis said, reading also has another good thing. When you read, you learn new words. but you also learn how the words go together. You learn how to use the words in sentences, she said. This way of learning new words is very good. Try it. You will see how fast you can learn. Then we talked about other things. We talked about life in England. We talked about jobs for students. This was good for me because I want to get a job. I want to work in my free time after school. I asked the other students if they knew how to find a job. They told me that I should go to a job center. They said, the job center has a lot of jobs, especially for students. This was good news for me. I was happy. Now I know where to look for a job. When school was over, I went to the job center. I did not know what job I could do. I asked the woman at the job center, "What is a good job for a student?" The woman said, "We have some good jobs for students. You can be a cleaner, or you can be a waitress in a cafe." I said, "I don't have any experience with those jobs." The woman said, "Your English is good enough to work at the cafe. The training is not hard, and you can practice your English more than if you are a cleaner." She said, "You can start your job on Thursday." This was great. I was very happy. I had a job where I could practice my English. If you want to learn new words, read for 30 minutes every day. Chapter 3. Pronunciation Problems. On Wednesday, I went to school again. There was one student in the class. He did not talk much. He was from South Korea. His name was Minho. When Miss Davis asked if we had any questions, Minho asked a question. He said, "I have a big problem with pronunciation." He said, "I know my pronunciation is not good, but I don't know how to make it better." He said, "I don't speak much because I don't want people to hear my bad pronunciation." He said, "I read and watch movies in English a lot. I understand very well, but I want to speak better." He asked, "Is there something I can do to improve my pronunciation?" Miss Davis said, "Okay, Minho. I will tell you something about pronunciation and how to practice it. I will also teach you techniques that can help all of you." She said, "When we speak, we have to move our mouths. We have to use muscles in our mouths. We all do that. The problem is that when you speak English, you use your muscles the same way you would use them in your own language. Then, your pronunciation is different from the pronunciation of people who speak English well." Miss Davis said, "This happens to many students. Almost everyone who learns English has a little different pronunciation. But it is not a big problem. Usually, people can understand what you want to say, even if your pronunciation is not perfect." She said, "However, you can work on your pronunciation. You can make it better. There is a great technique that can help you a lot. It is called shadowing." She explained, "The technique is very simple. When you do shadowing, you can copy the sound that you hear." She said, "When children learn their first language, they learn it by copying. They copy their parents again and again. And one day, their pronunciation is perfect." Miss Davis said, You can learn English pronunciation the same way. Here is what you do. You take a video or audio recording. Choose something that is not very fast. Choose something that you can understand well. You listen, and you copy what you hear. You say it the same way they say it. Then Miss Davis went to YouTube. She searched for shadowing technique. She found good videos that showed how to do it. We watched the video. Then we all tried to do shadowing for about 3 minutes. It was fun. Miss Davis said, "Shadowing is also good when you are preparing for a presentation in English. If you want to have good pronunciation before the presentation, you can go somewhere alone, and you can do minutes. You will see how much it helps you." This was very interesting to me. I had not heard about this technique before. When the lesson was over, I went to the school office. I asked the woman at the desk if there were any sports activities at the school. I wanted to play some sports in England. The woman said, "Yes, we have a table tennis team and a football team." She said, "The football team has training today at 5. I was very happy. I liked sports very much. I went to the training of the football team. I met a lot of players from different countries. The players were from Brazil, Japan, Russia, Spain, Argentina, and Italy. I liked the training. I was very happy that my time in England was going well. I had a great teacher. I had new friends from my football team. And tomorrow, I will start my job as well, Miss Davis had said. If you want to have good pronunciation, repeat after people who speak English well. Chapter 4. Thinking Aloud. On Thursday, I went to school again. We had a new student in our class. Her name was Eleanor, and she was from Italy. At the start of the lesson, Miss Davis asked Eleanor some questions. Miss Davis knew Eleanor, because Eleanor had been in her class 1 year ago. It was a class for beginners. It was only for 2 weeks during the summer. When Eleanor spoke, she spoke very well. Her pronunciation was very good. And she spoke fluently. Miss Davis was very happy. She said to Eleanor, "Your school in Italy must be very good." Eleanor said, "I don't go to any school in Italy. I learn English at home. I use techniques that I learned from you. I do a lot of reading, shadowing, and thinking aloud." She said, "I try to think more in English than in Italian. This is how I work on my English." Eleanor said, "The 2 weeks I spent in your class last summer helped me a lot. You showed me the way. Now I know how to work on my English every day. That is why I wanted to join your class again. 1 year ago, I was a beginner. Now I can speak English. I want to learn from you again." Miss Davis was very happy when she heard these words. She thanked Eleanor for working so hard. This was all very interesting to me. I knew about reading. I also knew the shadowing technique, but Eleanor also talked about thinking aloud. I did not know what it was. So I asked, "Miss Davis, what is thinking aloud?" Miss Davis said, "It is a very good technique, but you have to want to learn English very much. If you have a strong motivation, you can learn well with this technique." She also said, "Some people think this technique is a little strange. But if it helps you, it doesn't matter if it is strange. When you start to think aloud, your English can get better very fast. I said, I have a strong motivation. I don't care if the technique is strange. If it helps me, I want to learn it. Can you teach us this technique? Miss Davis said, Okay, it is actually very simple. You think in your own language all day. That is normal. Now you can start to think in English. And when you think in English, you can think aloud. You simply say out loud what you are thinking. That's all. I said, It sounds very simple. Why is it so good? Miss Davis said, Maybe you can ask Eleanor. She uses this technique. Maybe she can tell you more about it. Then, Miss Davis asked Eleanor if she would talk about her experience with thinking aloud. Eleanor said, It is not a problem. When I started with this technique, it was not easy. I started with very simple sentences. For example, I can speak English. It is good that I can speak English. I want to be better. I need to practice every day. I don't know many words, but I can use the words I know. I can say my ideas with these words. I can do this. This is great. She said, the sentences were very simple, but at the beginning, there was one problem. My thinking in Italian was long and complicated. I could not say in English exactly what I said in Italian. I needed to find a simpler way to say things in English. To think in simple English was the hardest part. But after some time, it became normal for me to think in English, Eleanor said. Then, something interesting happened. I met a man from Australia. He was on holiday in Italy. I was still a beginner, but we started to speak English. I could see that I could speak with him without having problems. My sentences were simple and short, but I could speak. I did not translate in my head from Italian to English. Eleanor said, After meeting the man from Australia, I started to use thinking aloud more. This technique helped me a lot with my speaking. I still use it every day. It is a very good technique. Miss Davis thanked Eleanor for telling us about her experience with thinking aloud. I wanted to use this technique too, because I also wanted to get better at speaking. Miss Davis gave me the last piece of advice. Read, listen, think, and speak. Do each activity for 40 minutes every day. You can read, listen, and shadow while hearing our basic English stories.